Welcome back to another episode of The Conscious Artist, a safe space for conversations around mental health awareness for musicians, artists, and all human beings. I am your host, Pallavi Mahidara. I'm a concert pianist and teacher, and I am absolutely thrilled that you are joining us today. My hope for this show is that it will give all of us a sense of solidarity and knowledge that we are not alone, and together, through these conversations, we can create more awareness and change for a healthier future. I want to dedicate today's episode to someone who left this earth far too soon. Benjamin Paul Davis was my best friend in high school, my rock, and my partner in crime. He was a clarinetist, and we connected on a fundamental level as the only classical musicians in our school. He lived and breathed music so deeply, and he encouraged and inspired me in ways that I couldn't even realize at the time. He supported me from afar even as we grew apart after college, and I was so thankful when we reconnected 2 years ago. It wasn't enough time, but he was one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met. I have felt connected to him through our love of music since day one, and I will continue to carry him in my heart forever. Today's episode is about connection, and my guest today and I have connected in many different ways over the past several years. He is a talented actor and pianist, a joyous and vivacious person, and a dear friend. We first connected in Berlin when we were studying together at the Hochschule für Musik Hans Eisler. We then formed a deeper connection when he and his wonderful fiancée, who's also a close friend, stayed with my cousins in India during a trip there. And we recently reconnected again when I happened to move within 10 minutes of their apartment. Connection is all around us and can pop up in the most surprising and unexpected ways. I'm so happy to have Mario Marzo here connecting with all of us. Mario, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy you're here, and I love how many ways we have connected through the years.
Yeah, we're just thinking that we know each other from a long time, completely different scenarios, and now finally recording something together, which is this podcast.
I love it. I love it so much. There are just so many things I want to chat with you about today, but perhaps first you can give us a little bit of backstory and share your musical and acting origins.
Of course, yeah. So I am 26 years old right now. I started playing piano when I was 6, 7. My mom was a pianist. My dad is a pianist. Music has been always involved in my life in any ways. And when I was 14, I saw a casting for a movie here in Spain. I never thought about acting. We didn't know anybody that was an actor or an actress. Somehow I just felt curiosity and I wanted to try, and I didn't get the job, but apparently the casting that I did was pretty good, and my actual manager called me and said, "Hey Mario, we really like this audition. Would you like to be an actor and get more jobs or more castings?" And I said, "For sure, if I can continue practicing piano, which is the most important thing, and what I really like, yeah." And then over the years, I've been just doing acting with piano and like working in both worlds. I find it incredibly interesting, and also really important for an artist not to just live with the art that you are working on, but also to know a little bit more of different arts. How do you express your feelings, for example, in interpretation or in painting or literature? I think that really helps the artist. And now, right now, we are just promoting the new series that I'm a main character on, which is called Los Protegidos here in Spain. That, funny enough, was the first TV series that I did, that I recorded 10 years ago. So they now, with all this Remember movement that we have on social media and on cinemas and TV series, we're recording again. We just finished recording, and we are doing the promotion right now.
I love that. It's amazing. These reboots are really coming back into fashion, and I love what you said about how different forms of art help you to express your emotions in different ways. And I would love if you could talk a little bit more about this idea of expressing. You know, I personally can relate to expressing emotions through music, but I absolutely cannot because I'm not an actor. I cannot in
We'll
that
see. We'll
realm.
see. It might get you a role. We'll
No,
see.
no, 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 no.
It
I
depends
know
on the
where my
business.
talents lie, and it's not there.
Yeah, no, I've always felt that I had a not a huge, but a tiny advantage over my colleagues in terms of how to express my feelings and how to interact with a piece of art right from the beginning. So it's really important for an artist to know where his strengths are, of course, and what do you need more time to work on and everything. And since I started analyzing scripts and putting myself in someone else's position, that's what as an actor you have to do. You have to lie about that, and it really made me think that once you're in front of a music score right at the beginning, normally what we do is just play it. We just listen to it maybe and just read it and then play it, but there's not this levels of understanding a piece as it is on a script also. So in a script you have to know where do you come from, why are you doing this, what are your motivations on this matter, and where are you going, why are you reacting like this. And sometimes in music we just think, okay, this is what is written, it says piano and it's an F that I am going to play an F as a piano. But normally, what we don't do is, of course, a lot of people just read a lot about the composers. How did he compose this piece? What is it about? Are they in war? Is this Prokofiev or Shostakovich? This is really important in their music, or maybe not. But then we don't think, okay, how am I going to play this note that is in sync with what Prokofiev, let's say, wanted, but also that is in sync with what I want to show and to tell. So we're always telling stories all the time. So anytime that I play a note now, I just think, okay, where is this going? Not also there's a subtle difference, but I think it really makes a difference. It is not just playing something beautiful that evokes you to a really romantic place, but it's really feeling, okay, this is how I should be feeling, and this is how I should be sharing this story and sharing my emotions. And yeah, of course it just depends on personality, but I can't stand still. I just cannot do one thing and just forget about the rest. I consider myself an artist since the very beginning, and everything that I do helps me get better at the rest of the things. I play the piano how I play it because I might have less time than the rest of my colleague pianists that just can play. So everything that I do, just I don't know. It's the how to say the result of what I am as an artist, which is somebody that is working on a lot of different things and thinking a lot of different stuff, and then I try to create my art from there.
But I think that's really beautiful. And I think that variety and experience is what gives us depth as artists.
Hmm.
And I think it's funny until you started sort of explaining this thing about how you sort of analyze a script and how we should be doing that with music, which of course I think about that. But what I hadn't thought about until just now is the fact that actually both performing a piece, interpreting a piece of music, and interpreting a character are actually exactly the same things. At the end of the day, we are a vessel through which this artistic form is coming through. We are a way to channel the message of the composer. We are a way to channel the message of the writer of the show or the character that we're trying to portray, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's really beautiful.
yeah, and I would say that in acting it's a little bit easier because there are words written that you know why you transition to certain places. If you're sad, then you might get angry because you're frustrated and you talk like that and you act like that. But sometimes in music, and a lot of musicians just do not pay attention to it, I think, is my honest and my purest opinion would be that sometimes we just don't realize what an sforzando means, what being playing a mezzo piano means compared to a piano, and why we might be playing mezzo piano and then there's a forte that is says forte cantabile. Why is it? Is it because it has to sound a little bit more? Is it because it is a consequence of what just happened and the way that the composer wanted to say that? So in a script, it's really easy. You're just in love with somebody, and I miss you, and then you get frustrated and you get angry because the other person doesn't understand. But in music, you never think like that for some reason. You just think, okay, this is piano, and now I have to do this cantabile. Why? Because it says so. But how come? So the incredible, nice, and unique performances, like historical performances there. You have Richter playing some Prokofiev sonata. You have the Shostakovich playing his own preludes and fugues. All these kind of things. What does that mean? Why are they so special? Because everything makes sense. It's not just that, oh, it's in tune with the style, which is a very vague word that we use nowadays. But Mozart is in style or is not in style. But why? Why Beethoven is playing piano and then has sforzando and then goes again to piano? Just because he was an angry guy? Yes, but also because that really means something. And if you really get through that skin, through that layer of just the letters MF, which means mezzo forte, if you pass through that, I think you get to a very interesting place and where the possibilities that you can start to choose and to play with are endless.
I agree 100%. And it's something I tell my students a lot. I think it's sort of the difference between taking something on paper literally and, as you say, actually trying to understand why. What is the meaning of this? What is the purpose of this? And in trying to find that meaning, in trying to understand why is it this way? How do we get from A to B? In understanding that, we connect to the music in a way that is very different from just playing the notes. And in the way that we connect with the music, that's how we can connect with the audience, because ultimately the audience is going to hear what we hear. They're going to feel what we feel. And I'm guessing it's very similar in acting, that if you truly are feeling your performance, if you are truly connected and immersed into your character, we will feel that. That translates through the screen.
Yeah, exactly. Anytime you meet or I meet someone that is not an actor or is not related with the acting world, the first question or the thing that really amazes them is, oh, but can you cry on scene? Can you cry? And I understand it because it's something really, yeah, something really special. Like, hey, this guy can cry on command. That's not the difficult part of it. I'm not exaggerating. I've seen thousands of actors and actresses cry in theater, in movies, in TV series, just with them working. And it's just a physical thing. One drop of almost water coming from your eye. The difficult part of it is just being true, being truth to everything that you do. That is a really complicated thing. And in music, it's exactly the same. You must believe. A really good musician should always be believing what they're doing and really transfer all the information and all the emotions that they have in real time. Sometimes you will not be able because of many reasons, because you're nervous, because you forgot, because you're not paying enough attention, because it's not your day, whatever. And then I think what the musician then should do is, okay, I'm not able to do. It's supposed to be, then I'm just going to be truthful. I'm just going to be sincere. This is what I'm feeling. This is how I am feeling. It is also not improvising on stage or not, but having this freedom of yes, I tried, but now I cannot do this thing. Sometimes you're working on a script and you're working on some emotions and some rhythm, and it's life. You are not able to get there because you came from a different background. Then you don't listen to things the same way. Then you react to things a different way, and then you're in a completely different scenario. But somehow in acting that you can do that. And it's okay. But in music we have this taboo, this cliche of not getting there, trying to be cold a little bit. Let's not get too involved. But once you pass that and you don't care about that, I think you really evolved as a musician and as an artist. And it's something that also your teacher Baskirov said, and my teacher Galina said, that is, get it, understand it, just feel it. What is it? Are you feeling this music? Are you feeling the emotions and the things that are coming? Yeah. Then you can start analyzing it. Galina Yazarova would say, just eat it and then digest it. Once it's digested, then you can start playing. Then you can start discussing with more people. Like, no, I do this because of that, but not just because you like the music or you felt this way. No, eat the music, digest it, and then think about that. How does it make you feel? What are the emotions coming from? Why is this thing happening? Where's the music going? And why is the music going this way? and the music is going this way because this emotion is just giving the hit, is the engine of all of it. But once you get that, I think that you discover a lot of different scenarios that your art can start moving.
I agree. I agree completely. And I think you make a very interesting point, backtracking a little bit about sincerity and about authenticity. And I think that relates not only as musicians and as actors, but as human beings. You know, when we don't act sincerely, and what I mean by that is if we are not making choices each day in our life that are true to ourselves, it can lead to disconnection from ourselves. And that feeling of disconnect leaves us imbalanced, leaves us feeling maybe burnt out. We're trying to do everything that everyone else wants us to do, but we're not really understanding what is it that we want to do. And in the same way, as a musician, I think it can be very similar. That I do want to say the point here is not to just play whatever we feel. That's absolutely
Sure.
not what you're saying, and I
No.
don't say that either. But at the same time, the point is also not to only play what's on the score and have no
Yeah.
connection to it, right? Like the point is to find that balance and that middle
Yeah.
ground. And as I said in the beginning, I think that's the whole sort of purpose of being an interpreter. That's exactly what we are as musicians and as artists, playing,
Yeah.
those of us who are not composers, of course. So as an interpreter, my job is to convey these messages from these great
Yeah.
artists.
And being convincing. And a
Exactly.
script will not be wrong or right if De Niro or Pacino plays it. How come? It will be completely different, but you will not be
Exactly.
able to say that it's wrong. And it's always, as you said, finding the balance. That's the most important thing. But what is the most important thing for me is being convincing. There are two ways of being convincing. Either you're a psychopath, that you can just lie to everybody and just play something that you don't believe just by yourself, or that you are completely truthful and you feel naked with it and say, hey, this is truly how I'm going to play this piece. And then there will be people that will agree or not with your interpretation, but they will never say, I just didn't get it. They might say, I wouldn't have done it this way, but wow, it touched me there, or I felt these things that I didn't get the first time that I was listening to this piece on YouTube, for example. And that's about it. Just being truthful, being
Right.
convincing. What would you do?
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. I'm curious to know for you, what is it about music that you connect with, about music and performing? What is it for you that truly connects you to that artistic form?
I wouldn't know what to say. Um,
There's no right or wrong answer.
yeah, exactly. It is so complicated. I'm not ready for this at all. Um, so for me, there's something about life that really turns me on. And not just the vertigo or feeling the life going on, but the physical connection between the keys going down and being aware of how the sound ends in the room. You know? For me, that's something that really, really, really moves me and
Wow.
that is addictive, sorry. That once I play and how the weight of the keys are going down and then listening how the sounds come back, like those brief moments, it's not always 100% on stage, but just getting there, of just finding the right way of moving your hands and your body to create something and then feeling and listening that you really made that happen. That is something really special. Like I just want to move. I want every piece that I play to create something on the audience. And the difficult part of it is not doing a mock-up, not exaggerating it, not faking it. I want to be truthful, and I want to be as truthful to the composer as I can be, and then as truthful, sorry, as myself, which is really complicated. Because sometimes you fake it a little bit. It's like, yeah, this has to be really pretty, and I'm not feeling it. But the beautiful part of it is just pushing myself to feel that way and let me immerse in that feeling, in that harmony, in that melody, and just hear how the sound leaves and then listen how the sounds come back to my ear, I would say.
No, that's really beautiful. And you mentioned something about creating something for the audience, having the audience feel something, and that brings up a very interesting point. When we're on stage as performers, as pianists, when we're on stage giving live performances, at least for me, the most important aspect of a live performance is that connection with the audience, because I feed off the energy of a live audience, that intangible energy that exists. And that's my way of connecting to the audience through the music. And I wonder, as an actor doing something like a TV show where you're obviously filming ahead of time, you're not filming with a live audience, I guess. How do you approach, first of all, how do you experience those two aspects? Because they're such different realms, performing live on stage versus in front of a camera. And how do you find a way to still connect through the camera and through the screen?
So I think your best friends would be your colleagues that are on set and then really trusting the project and the director. I would compare it to recording a CD. If you're just recording a solo piano recital, it's really complicated, but if you're doing a chamber music CD, how do you know that you're playing right or that you're getting what you need? Just by the feedback of your colleagues. And that's also something really beautiful about this world, the acting world. And then when you're doing a movie or a TV series, you have 100% trust in on the feedback of the people from the cast, because those are the ones that are going to help you or do the complete opposite. So you have to be, first of all, a really nice professional and know the boundaries and where to ask for help and where not to be too insecure and this territory to move on. But then you just have to trust the process and trust what you've been working on, trust the script that is written perfectly. That would be the score that is written as someone wanted to. And then you try to portray it as truthful as you can. Once you're done with that, they say cut and you say, how was it? Did this work? Sometimes things doesn't work. And it's the same on piano and in music. You think that, wow, this effect is really beautiful. And then once you're done it, you understand it, that you thought it was an effect and it sounded as such. And that is not good. This is not about playing fireworks or doing effects. It's about being truthful. Sometimes you think, hey, I'm just gonna say this sentence and I'm just gonna turn and then they're like, yeah, but I didn't understand that. Why did you do it? Well, I did it because I thought, and then there's a problem. You thought. You didn't feel.
Getting stuck in our heads. That's a really
Yeah,
good point.
exactly. Yeah. And it is incredibly important just to be stuck in our heads while we're practicing, while we're studying, while we're just thinking of what do we want this piece to sound, or what do we want this part to look like. But then in the moment of truth, you have to just get rid of that and trust everything that you've worked on. Just be as truthful as possible and as transparent as possible, and then you will get the feedback that you want, which is, for me, is, hey, I wouldn't have done it this way, but I find it so beautiful. I really saw something there. I really felt something. I always want, and that's something that my mom always said, like if I go to competitions or if I go to typical school concerts, that you're just going to listen to 20 pianists play for 3 hours. All the parents are there. Some friends are there. It's boring as heck over there. Make them feel something. Be the one that is, no matter what you're playing, they will say, wow, this piece is terrible. And I loved it. It's just like that. Like, forget about the product. Just share something truthful. Say something, share something from deep inside you. And then people will appreciate it. People, the audience, they might know more or less about music or art, but they are not robots. They're not animals. They're human beings, and maybe they'll be incredibly cold in their lives and showing their feelings. But when something is beautiful, they will just get it. So just thrive there. Try to.
I love that. That's really, really beautiful. And it reminds me of this lifelong work and process that I go through to try and connect my brain with my heart. Don't get stuck in the brain. but start to actually live also with your emotions, to feel them, to move through them in life. And you mentioned your mom, and if it's okay with you to talk a little bit about that. I know that you lost your mom about a year ago or so, a little over a
Yes.
year ago. And of course, this doesn't compare at all. I recently lost my best friend from high school, and it was just a reminder, this death and grief and loss, it was a reminder how much connection matters and how beautiful it is as artists that we have the chance to connect with people who we've never met. And experience is what gives us depth as artists. I said that earlier. Grief and death can connect people who have never met in ways that are completely intangible. No words needed. And I think music and art have the same effect. Two people on opposite ends of the planet can be listening to the same piece of music or the same song, the same artist, and feel something, feel a deep emotion inside that connects them. And maybe, through social media, they might comment on the same post and realize that they're feeling and experiencing the same emotion.
Yeah, and they're not alone.
They're not alone.
Exactly. Yeah, I lost my mom when I was 25 over a year ago, and just within a week she was perfect, and then passed away. And she was a pianist, a professional classical pianist, incredibly well known in Spain, won a lot of competitions, played a lot of concerts, respected by everybody, and always with a smile on her face. And she was my teacher. And she was my beautiful teacher, not this relationship that sometimes is portrayed in movies and in novels just to create some kind of drama of like the parents. No, not at all. Both my mom and my dad were pianists, and they've always been my teachers every single day of my life. Every single piece that I've played until now, of course, has had their approval or not, and always their criticism in a better way and a worse way, whatever they felt like, and whatever I was working, how hard I was working or not. And now that I am starting my new life without her and without her light and her guidance, of course I feel completely vulnerable in every single aspect of my life. But I have been improving in a way of feeling the piano in a way that I've never felt before and having a different relationship with it. At the very beginning, I couldn't even play a note because every single note would just be here and would be touching a key that once was played by my mom, and that I would never ever get a feedback anymore. Not that I need an approval, but that I share this
Mm-hmm.
process of creating. And I always found this really beautiful. And I remember back in the days when my mom was alive and I was 15 or 16 years old, I was talking to a musician friend, and I was saying I'm really worried because every single piece that I've played, I've worked on with my mom. I've worked on it with my mom or my dad. Like, what am I? Am I really an artist? Am I really a pianist? Or am I just this mix of these two incredible musicians that are just coming through and I just play whatever? And of course, with time, I started playing just by myself because I started living in Berlin, and they couldn't. Of course, they weren't my teachers daily, and I realized that I could. And now I realized that was making me afraid, or that was making me conscious back in the days when I was 15 years old. It's what I'm most grateful for, is that I am indeed the mix of these two incredible musicians that had completely different ways of approaching music. And they just taught me with the best of their hearts. Of course, a teacher always wants to share, not because they're expecting something, because it is what it is. And music is like this, and you're trying passionately to share the knowledge and the emotions that you're going through. But when you're a parent, you always have that feeling of teaching and protecting. And for me, it was within the art and within the music. And now I just feel that every note that I play, even though she cannot say it, I know what she would say. And that is, you're not doing legato enough. Here, where are you going? This is a vague pianissimo. You're just playing less decibels. You're not playing pianissimo. Why would you do that? Where's the bass? How are you doing this? What harmony is it going through? Everything that she would say, now just keep repeating on my head and making me improve because I am the son of a great pianist that passed away, and I'm happily a son of a beautiful father that is a great musician that is helping me daily.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that and for your vulnerability and for your honesty. I cannot even begin to imagine how painful this chapter has been. But I also love how beautiful it is that you are connected with her every single day in what you do. Every time you sit down and you play, that she's there.
And also, the moment of acceptance I will get there one day, because this grief that we are all going through when we lose someone just makes us believe that their image, their memory belongs to a pain, and it is inside of a bubble that is filled with pain. And eventually I will get there to the place that I will just remember without the grief. But until then, I feel that there's no way that I will just get away with what my mom would say. She will always be there telling me, hey, this is not how you do it. Because she taught me well.
Yeah.
And eventually, as I said, I will get away from the grief and just focus on going, the journey that I'm going through already, which will be a different path, but that will always be artistic related.
I heard a really beautiful quote recently about grief that said, grief is just all the unexpressed love. And it was just
Beautiful.
one of the most beautiful ways to try to process an emotion that is not understandable.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, even if we've told the people that we love every day that we love them, we only realize the impact someone has on us and on our lives when they're no longer there. And to know that you can continue her legacy through not only being her son, but also through your music, it's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. Ever since she passed away, I've always received beautiful comments from her colleagues and from really renowned pianists and artists, not just in Spain, everywhere. She was really known, and she had a huge career in Russia and St. Petersburg. She studied in Manchester. I have millions of messages of people, and they all come to me with a lot of kindness, and not because of me, of the journey that I'm going through, because of her, because of how everybody loved her, and they are all giving me this message of how not just stay strong and you will eventually move on, but just know, do not forget how wonderful everything was with her, and please follow with this. Just take care that you were really lucky and just continue doing art. That's what she wanted to. Just continue doing art and continue playing. Sometimes you will play better, sometimes you will play a lot worse, as she did, as we all have done. Just continue playing and continue to share your emotions and your art in the piano or in acting or in whatever.
That's so beautiful. And in a way, you're also connected with all of these people through her.
Yeah,
You all
totally.
share that connection of your relationships to your mother. I lost my dear Professor Bashkirov earlier, March 2021. And to this day, I still feel connected with him. Because like you, I didn't have musician parents, but with Professor Bashkirov, every time I sit down at the piano, all I hear is him, right next to my head, in my ear, telling me, "Why are you doing this? Why are you playing badly? Why aren't you listening?" And so I can relate a little
We'll
bit.
never get away from it. We will just never get away from it, and it's beautiful.
I think it's beautiful. In a way, they're always with us, and I know that I feel very, very proud and very grateful and blessed to have had the chance to study with such a great, incredible master for some years and be a tiny part of the legacy that he left behind. It must be so beautiful, despite the pain, despite the difficulty of it all, to still feel that you have that connection through music
totally.
and art.
And it's just, I find it amazing that the way that when you sit on the piano, you listen to him telling you no and why and everything, it's exactly the same that I feel with my mom. And that's something that I know sometimes we didn't get. Back in the day, we just didn't get. We didn't want that because we were working and we wouldn't understand. And now we're really lucky to understand it and to miss it and to crave it, which is great because it pushes us.
Yeah.
Even though they're not here, I think the best act of respect that we can show is to act accordingly as they wanted to. They would say, "This legato Pallavi, why are you not listening? Why are you playing like this?" And they would say, "Mario, where where are the colors? Where are you forgot them? Where are they?" They will, and we must not forget that to continue improving as an artist, as a person, and to keep alive their legacy and their image in our heads and in our minds.
I love that. I really love that. You know, connection is a fundamental human need. And it's the entire reason why I love performing, because it's a way to connect to others, to share, to communicate. And I mean, it's why I started this podcast, in the hope that people will hear these conversations and maybe someone out there will be able to connect with something that they're struggling with. And I suppose I suppose it's the same when you're performing it, of course, but also when you're acting, that someone out there maybe is relating to your character and maybe is inspired.
Totally. Yeah. And we should not take that for granted. That's something really beautiful and really special. And we create art to know ourselves better and also to help us improve and be more humble, I would say. When you're listening to a lot of artists and a lot of music and you're really paying attention to it, when you're reading a lot of novels and you're visiting museums, you're just enjoying a lot of different foods, when you're just discovering life, you start to feel that you belong somewhere and that also humbles you. At least for me, it always humbles me. Just to listen to pianists, sometimes they play great, sometimes they don't, but it always humbles me. Because once you go on a stage once, you understand everything that comes with it. And that is really special. Knowing there's never a concert or a movie or a CD that you cannot take a lot of information and a lot of knowledge from.
Right.
No matter if it's great or it's terrible, there's always things to know, there's always space for improvement. And that is something that I want to, if I ever have children, that I want to teach them. The importance, first of all, in these days that everything is immediate, that everything that we want, we have it, and we have it within seconds, reach of our hands. Music is not like that. Acting is not like that. You're going to spend thousands of hours in this way, and it will never work. Sometimes it might work for 15 minutes, and then it will not. And that is really incredible. And then to be as humble as a good artist might be and should be, which is, I know nothing. I'm always discovering what I thought I was right and what I thought it was the best performance of my life. A year later, it has so many mistakes. And how could I have just thought that this was the best performance that I've done? And why it happened to me in my Kreisleriana from Schumann, that I thought I made the best version possible. And then years later, I just listened to it and say, hey, why was I so blind? How come that I was so blind? And this is a beautiful thing of art, that you are sharing something that it was really truthful for you in this moments, and you are being as transparent as you can, and then you evolve and you change, and then the art changes with you.
That's so beautiful. It reminds me of this quote: "The more I learn, the less I know." But it's true, you know?
It is true, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And you're never right when you're doing art.
No.
You're never right. And just listen to the greatest. They change so much.
Yeah.
They're always great, They're always great. But then they just seems like different persons.
Yeah,
Why? Because they evolve.
exactly.
Of course, they are another level, and they will always be great no matter what they do. If they just wake up with hangover and just play something, it will be wonderful no matter what. And we don't have the touch of the gods that they have. But still, we in a little fights every day for a better performance, a better knowledge of myself, a better day at the office. Every single thing that we do, if we just affront it with humbleness and with illusion and expectations of just being myself and trying to do myself and being truthful to what I do and trying to connect, we will learn.
Absolutely. It's this idea that, we know as musicians and as artists that a piece of work is never truly finished, because there's always something more to learn. There's always a new idea that comes every time I take back a piece that I haven't played in some years. It's a completely new lens that I'm looking at it with. And to remember that as human beings, it's ideal
Yeah.
to view life in the same way, to remember that it's a beautiful thing to evolve, and as you say, to evolve with the art and have the art evolve with you.
And that also means that we are alive
Yeah.
and then we are improving and that we are growing. If we were to just play the same pieces the same way, not paying attention to them, why would we doing this?
What's
Just
the
because of
point?
money? Just because of doing concerts? Where does that get you? It gets you somewhere, of course, but after a point, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing that you're craving. There's no motivation. And the good artist should just extrapolate this knowledge of improving and knowing that you're never right, that you will always be in this seek of more and more knowledge and more ideas and more ways of transferring everything that you have inside you to just put it in the real life outside of the art. Having a conversation with your partner, having a conversation with a boss, with someone in the supermarket. We're not always right. We are maybe right for that moment, but not in a universal way. We will just get there eventually. Everything that we think we know, we do not really know. And for me, that was something that I really started to get when I was young and I was playing. That I know this piece is played this way. No matter what my mom, my dad, my teacher from the music school, no matter what they say, this is how you play it. And then you grow. And then you're not that radical, but you're playing really well. You're playing a lot of pieces really well and doing competitions and doing blah blah blah. And then you're like, yeah, this is a beautiful performance. And then time comes, and it shows you again. You shouldn't be thinking about that. You just should be thinking about doing something that for you is truly unique, and that you reverberate with it. That you are within the same energy. Because then you will never look back and see regret.
Mm.
You will just see improvement.
I love that so much. What a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Since the moment, in this first second that you told me, I'm been on board 100%. I think it's a great podcast that you're doing. I'm so happy that you're doing it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all so much for listening. I am truly grateful for the support from each and every one of you. If you would like to submit any questions or topics for us to address on the show, you can send us a message on our Instagram page @ConsciousArtistPodcast. Help us to spread more awareness by sharing this episode with your friends, your colleagues, your teachers, and your students. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Sending you all so much love and strength to tackle this week, and we'll see you next Monday for another episode of The Conscious Artist.